Hello students, this is your professor Usame right here. I'll give you a number of quick review on camera, Canon 80D DSLR camera. I'll go over the menu and I'll give you some tidbits. The very first thing is, as you can see, I turned the camera on and I set it to the manual setup. So we are not on auto as many of you use this camera when you're shooting. We are going to manual. We press on this button and turn the dial until we see the M corresponding to the white line. All right, so let's go over some of the essential menu items. Okay, so the very first thing is, if you click on menu once, it goes back to flip monitor function, so you can watch whatever you're seeing. You can click on the info button, as you see right here. Each time you click on info button, you're going to see different options. First time when you click on it, it'll tell you how much time there is on one long continuous take. On the right hand side, it'll have the quick menu, as well as there's a quick menu button outside. You'll have the servo AF autofocus. What this means is, if you want to be able to focus on any part of the shot, this needs to be on. Make sure it's not turned off, that it is on, and make sure on the side of the camera, let me show that also, that your autofocus is set to AF, not MF. You always want to keep your stabilizer on, and whenever you want to use the autofocus function, you want to make sure your autofocus is on. All right, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to the essential functions of the menu. All right, let me set it. Okay, so info button, when you click on it, you have the servo AF on here. You have your shutter speed, f-stop, and your ISO. This is the basic functions when you hit info once. If you hit info one more time, you'll be able to see what particular autofocus you selected, your frame rate, your buttons for if your headphones is activated, your auto white balance, and a few other options. If you click on info one more time, you'll see a meter to check either your RGB, red, green, blue, or your brightness within your shot. Whenever you want to shoot clean, you can hit info again, and then you won't see anything but your autofocus box. I'm going to show you guys how to add 3-point grid, 3x3 grid, and many other functions. So let's start by clicking on the quick menu. All right, you can also, if you're not here, when you select info, you always have your quick menu on the right corner, other than the clean version. All right, so let's say we're using the clean. Let's say we're using this next setup. You can go to your quick menu, and on your quick menu, you can quickly select your autofocus option, which is this button right here, autofocus, and you can select your autofocus method to be face plus tracking, flexi zone multi autofocus within a shot, and flexi zone single autofocus. I would recommend going with the face one, where you will be able to select anybody's face and your camera will continue following them as they move in different distances with regards to your camera. So that is a very useful option. Let me zoom in a tad bit more here. All right, I think that's better so you can see more. Let's go back to quick menu. We have our frames per second on the left. That's the second one. You can select 60, 30, or 24. The particular numbers are 59.94 for 60 frames, 29.97 for 30 frames, 23.98 for 24 frames. Most of the time, I will recommend you to shoot full HD 29.97 standard. If you're looking for the film look, you can always switch to 24 frames. But let's keep it on 29.97. Then the next one that I would like you to add here is your audio input level. It is not selected. I will show you on the menu, but let me just hold on and show you one more thing. On the right hand side, there is auto white balance. It's right here. Let me leave and show you again. Quick menu. It's right, this one right here, auto white balance. On the bottom, you have all these different options. Auto white balance, daylight, shade, cloudy, tungsten light, white fluorescent, and custom, and Kelvin. Kelvin means you can set your own particular color temperature. You can play with it. You can change, and it changes color. If you know a little bit about what Kelvin stands for, you'll be able to use this easily to control your color. If not, until you learn the particular details, say in Professor Tuneger's class, you can just stick with auto white balance. You always can select these different options for white balance. Let's go back. Okay. Next few quick tidbits are the most essential 3 options that you always have to keep an eye on the manual setting, which are your shutter speed, your f-stop, and your ISO. Now, the rule of thumb for shutter speed is whichever frame you're shooting with, this has to be double that amount. So in our case, we're shooting 30 frames, so your shutter speed will be 60. If you're shooting 24 frames, your shutter speed should be 48, but we don't have those type of numbers, so roll 48 to 50. So when we're shooting 24 frames, keep your shutter speed at 50. When you're shooting 30 frames, keep your shutter speed at 60. If you're doing like sports photography, you want to do slow-mo, then keep your shutter speed at 125. I would say 120, but we don't have 120, so just put it on 125. So most of the time you will shoot 30 frames per second, so keep your shutter speed at 60. All right. Second one, your f-stop. I will teach you 2 options. One option is keep your f-stop open all the way. If I zoom in, this f-stop, the lowest option it's going to give me is f6. If I'm zoomed out, the most it's going to give me, the lowest it's going to give me is 3.5. You can open it all the way up, and you can go to your ISO, which is your film speed, and then you can hit auto, and it'll generally give you a good look. But whenever you want to change your lighting, you can do 2 things. One, you can dial in your ISO the way you like. So if you want it brighter, you can increase it, all right? Or you can set your ISO, they are in relation with each other. F-stop and ISO is in relation with each other. Say I set this a little darker, around 250, my ISO, then I want to brighten it up. I can also brighten it up with opening my f-stop. All right, I'm sorry, I'm closing it. Say my ISO is really bright, say it's like berserk bright 2500, then I can close it by closing down my f-stop. Both are in relationship with each other. An easy approach is keeping your f-stop open and your ISO on auto, all right? But if you go outside when it's like really bright, you can keep your f-stop also pretty, you can keep your f-stop closed, say 11 or 16, and then you can manipulate your ISO. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna go back to my original plan. I'll keep my f-stop all the way open and keep my ISO on auto. So those are 3 functions. Shutter speed should be set to double the amount of my frame per second. My ISO and f-stop, I can dial particular numbers, or I can keep my ISO on auto and open up my f-stop, whichever you feel more comfortable with. On setting interviews, I would actually set everything manually and set it to what I'm liking. The higher you go on ISO, keep in mind that you're going to slowly get grain. So you want to stay away from very high ISO numbers as much as possible. Now let's go into the menu and see some of the menu functions. So to go into menu, I click on menu button. You have 5 essential menus over here up top. All of these are touchmatic, or you can use this dial. You can use this dial to set anything. You can click on set here, and then you can go back. So you can either use the dial or you can just use touchmatic. I'm going to show you some of the essential functions. The very first one I'm going to show you is on the main first menu. Let's go to number 4. Some of the essential ones we talked about from the quick menu are here also: movie servo, autofocus method, movie recording quality. Now, here on first one, number 4, photo, image, and number 4 is a very important item, which is called sound recording. I have to change the sound recording from auto to manual. The reason why I want to change it to manual is as I'm doing my interviews and as I'm recording other parts for my video, I want to be able to dial down and dial up my audio. So I want to be able to control my audio input. So I set it to manual, and let me show you how this looks on video. I'm going to click on menu 2 times. I'm back. If you go to quick menu, now you have that option, the manual audio input. I selected audio recording level, and this bar right here goes all the way up and down. A lot of times when you're doing interview with a lavalier, you will be somewhere around middle to low quarter. People who are louder like me, generally on the low quarter, will be more than enough. As you're talking, you never want to, as people are talking, you never want it to go up to red. Any red is overmodulation. This is very bad. You want to set it to a level where when the person is talking, the person that is talking should never go up to red. So let me lower it. We should be, when you're doing your interview, somewhere around there. Hitting on and above 12 is way more than enough. You can actually even record quieter and then boost it up on the post. If you don't have too much time to play with it on the post, if you want to be a little risk taking, you can be high up on the yellows, but that's more than enough as you're setting your levels. So that is your audio recording level, and this last one is your volume level. This has no impact on how the audio is recorded. This is only for your earphones. Okay, now I'm going back to menu. Main menu, first item, and then the 4th page, sound recording manual, extremely crucial. Let me go to 5. 5 is also really helpful. On 5, we have grid display. You can select it and you can put your 3x3 display to help you with your rule of thirds. Let me click on menu, and now you can see the rule of 3x3. This will really help you when you're doing your interviews. Your eyes of the interview should be around either this area or this area. These are your golden spots, right? When you're doing scenic photography, you want to make sure your horizon line is lined up on the above or below horizontal lines, right? So this will be extremely helpful. All right, and as you can see, wherever I click on, if there was a human being, it will lock in on that face. It's looking for a face. All right, let's go back to the menu. Let me go to the wrench. On the wrench, the very first thing you need to keep an eye on is whenever your card is full or giving you a little trouble, on wrench, first page, go to format card. It'll show you how much it's used, and you can click on OK, and then my card is formatted. Whatever there was in that card is already gone. If it was student work, I am sorry. For the sake of the example, it's already gone. Okay, wireless communication settings is really helpful if you want to connect your phone, your camera to a phone and use your phone as a monitor. You can do that, or you can also connect your camera to a computer. Wrench, second page. Another very useful button is auto power off. A lot of students get a little disturbed if their cameras are constantly turning on. If you don't want your camera to be constantly turned on, don't select 1 or 2. Select something, select something longer. This is very useful though to keep 1, 2, or 4 so that you can keep your battery life longer. But if you're in class and you're trying to follow somebody, or you need longer time to set up your shot, you can go up to 15 or 30 minutes, or even disable it. Wrench, page 3. Page 3 has battery info, which is helpful whenever you're in the middle of a shoot. After some time, or you just grab your battery, you can always see where your battery is. Page 4 has more complicated setups that I am not gonna go into the details of. So these ones that I've talked about are the essential functions. I would invite you all to rent out a camera sometime soon, or for your first story, rent out the camera at least a day before, or at least few hours before, and go over all of these options and make yourself familiar. And most importantly, go over your f-stop and ISO and play around both internally and externally. Now, last but not least, few other points. Whenever you shoot something, let's say I'm shooting this, shooting this, and look, it's following focus. All right, and I'm done. Start, stop. If I want to review that, I go to this play button and I hit play, and there goes your review. One more essential point is, let me go back here. These two are extremely important to keep in mind. This is the mic input, and this is the headphone input. These two are extremely crucial to keep in mind. A lot of people mix the two. The top one is mic, the bottom one is headphones. And make sure when you're going in with a mic, make sure the mic input goes all the way in. Let me show you this really quickly. Make sure the mic input, all right, goes all the way, and pay attention to this. A lot of people leave it like this, or they leave it halfway and they're like, we didn't get any sound. You should go all the way in for it to click. Whichever mic you're using, make sure that goes all the way in. And your headphones, same thing. Make sure it goes all the way in. All right, otherwise you won't be able to use it. And again, when you want to control your sound, quick menu, oops, all right, when you want to control your sound, okay, you go to quick menu and you click on audio recording level. There's no mic there right now. Let me keep it on, and then you set your levels with this. All right, very important to keep in mind. That was pretty much for today's discussion. I'll see you guys at another video. If you have any questions, feel free to find me in the hallways, or just send me an email. Goodbye.